Hey, it's been a very rough week. I've been very sick. But it's good that you're here. I would still like to address you this week because I'm very dedicated to this course. So there's a few questions that I need to mention today. I hope you're still having a good week. I hope you still enjoy the course. We're working hard to make sure that you're happy and that your questions are answered. And one thing that I would like to address now is the concerns about the peer review. Some people are a little scary about it. They're not used to that type of system. Well, I can tell you that peer review is a common system that we use in science to evaluate each other's work. So when we produce results, we write it down in the form of a paper, and then we submit it to a journal, and then other people look at it as part of a so-called peer review. So it's really quite common, and it works quite well in making sure that things are done well and to evaluate the quality of the work. So we also have incorporated that as part of our course, and as do many other courses within ethics. So there's no reason to be afraid of it. I think it's going to all work out well for you. Okay, so that's what I briefly wanted to say about peer review. Another question that came up was about sugar in fruits, and people have become worried about eating fruits because of the presence of sugar in the fruit. And well, when you look at sugar, you really need to look at the context. I mean, foods, it's not just a collection of nutrients. You need to look at the entire package. And these are concerns about overconsumption of sugar, but if you look at fruits have a lot to offer. They're not empty calorie foods. They're full of vitamins and minerals. They're rich in potassium, folate, and they're very valuable foods. So just to push them aside based purely on the fact that they contain actually rather low amounts of sugar is, I think, taking it a little bit too far. There is the concern about overconsumption of sugar, but I think we should direct that concern primarily towards soft drinks and other types of more liquid type of sugars that you have a tendency to overconsume. I have a hard time seeing somebody overeat apples or oranges or strawberries. There is a concern about fruit juice. People tend to think that apple juice is a whole lot better than for instance, Coke. And that I have to somewhat agree with, because apple juice is basically sugar water. There are some other nutrients present, including potassium, but there's no fiber. The fiber was removed during processing, so it's always better to eat a whole apple or a whole orange as opposed to drinking the orange juice or the apple juice. So that's the advice that I can give you. Just don't walk away from the fruits, and especially not the vegetables, just because of the sugar content. I think it's better to give up on the soft drinks and stick to your apples, oranges, berries, and all kinds of other fruits that you may enjoy eating. Hi. In the second part, I want to... Sorry. In the second part, I want to discuss the issue of... Okay, so can somebody close the door? Thank you. Excuse me. In the second part, we want to discuss the issue of the relationship between lipids and health, which of course is this week's topic. And when we go through the discussion forum, we notice that there are a lot of questions, a lot of concerns. And what we also notice is that people have a tendency to really think in terms of black and white, that something is bad and then it's really bad. Whereas, as often is the case, the situation is a little bit more nuanced. And so that's important to realize, but what I especially want to emphasize is the difficulty in collecting good information about the potential health effects of a particular fat. And that can be saturated fat, unsaturated fat, omega-3 fatty acids, where people have a tendency to believe it's either really good or really bad. But what I want you to realize is that the type of evidence that feeds into these notions. And basically what we do is we base our nutritional recommendations on nutritional studies, obviously, so-called epidemiological studies, observational studies, where you look at the link between consumption of certain types of diets and certain types of fats and the risk of developing heart disease. So, for instance, people that eat a lot of saturated fat would have an increased chance, possibly, for developing heart disease. And this is so-called observational research, so we don't actually intervene, you just watch what people eat. And this has been the basis for many nutritional recommendations. Now, there are serious problems associated with this approach, because we know that people that follow certain types of diet don't do that in isolation. Usually certain types of dietary behaviors cannot be separated from other behaviors. And that makes the analysis rather difficult. So we would like to rely especially on so-called intervention studies, where people are given certain types of fat for an extended period of time, and you see whether the provision of those fats in comparison with a group that does not get those fats has a beneficial effect or a detrimental effect. And a perfect example would be the effect of omega-3 fatty acids. And we can see whether people that eat lots of omega-3 on a regular basis have a higher or lower risk of heart disease, but better, we can provide them with these fatty acids in the form of an actual trial, an actual study. And this is the most powerful approach in nutrition. And this is ideally the type of information that should feed into our nutritional recommendations. Now, the trouble, however, is that when you do these studies, and there are certain restrictions. Because imagine you would like to look at the effect of omega-3 fatty acids on heart disease. Now, the trouble is that if you do that in a regular population, the number of people that actually gets heart disease is rather low. So you need to include literally hundreds of thousands of individuals. And to do that in an intervention is just logistically impossible and prohibitively expensive. You simply can't do it. So what people do instead is they do what we call secondary prevention. So we do this study in subjects that already had a heart attack, would have a greatly increased risk of getting another heart attack. And then you give those people omega-3 fatty acids, fish oil, and compare that with another group of people that doesn't get the fish oil, that gets the placebo. And that's an approach that has been followed quite a bit and is quite powerful. However, the problem that we're increasingly encountering with respect to heart disease is that the people that already had a heart attack, they're being medicated in such a way that their risk of heart disease has gone down tremendously. They receive all kinds of blood pressure lowering medication, statins, beta blockers, other type of medication that greatly reduces their risk of having a heart attack to begin with. So we have basically the same problem we had with the regular population. The risk of developing a heart attack is so low that the number of people that need to be included in the study becomes excessive. Tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of individuals. And at that point, the study just can't be done anymore because nobody can afford it. Nobody's willing to spend that amount of money. And that means you can't get the real answer. In the people that already had a heart attack, the drugs are so incredibly effective that the effect of nutrition cannot be demonstrated anymore. And in the people that never have had a heart attack, their risk of developing a heart attack is so low that you would need to include hundreds of thousands of individuals. And that just logistically cannot be done. So that's what I wanted to explain and give you a glimpse of the difficulty of having to conduct this type of research and trying to get really concrete, definitive answers about the relation between dietary fat and heart disease. But the same applies to many other outcomes, other diseases. Now, in the last part, I want to discuss the diets that you guys prescribed for me. Remember the recap video of week 3, I asked some of you to prescribe me a certain diet because some of you felt that my dietary habits weren't optimal. And a lot of you have taken it to heart. And actually, I'm trying to get my glasses now and get some of the information. Just get this out of the way here. I found 3 diets that were quite appetizing, and that I will follow for a day in the next week, and I will report back to you next week or the week after how it all went, if I how I felt, and if I managed to eat enough, and if I enjoyed it. The first diet came from somebody named M. Hensman. It's a very extensive list, starting out with breakfast that includes eggs, beans, avocado, and tortilla or bread, a lunch of a soup of vegetables, and dinner with a cup of yogurt with nuts and granola, or oatmeal with a cup of milk. I may be hungry after that, but we'll see. I'm just going to follow it. So this looks quite interesting, and I'm looking forward to that one. The second one is from Vicky and Jordan, who writes or has provided me with a very extensive list. Breakfast starts with a green onion omelette with lightly fried Romano zucchini slices. Almost looks like a menu of a nice restaurant. So I'm also looking forward to that one. Dinner is pasta with Romano tomatoes, shavings of aged Parmesan cheese. It looks really good. So we'll see how that one goes. Now the third one is from somebody named Abigail from the UK. She's only 15 years old. She writes. She's following the course very eagerly. She's contributing a lot, so that's really great. And she also prescribed me a diet, starting out with porridge. I guess she's from the UK. That's I guess fairly typical. Lunch is a bowl of homemade vegetable soup, cheese sandwich. Dinner is cheese pizza, so I guess that's going to be my cheat meal. Garlic bread and corn on the cob. So this also looks quite appetizing, and we'll see how that goes. Now the last meal, I'm just trying to look for it, is over here, is from JC. Also looks very nice. A vegan pancake with guacamole as breakfast with sautéed asparagus. The snack is a falafel with hummus and lentil soup, quinoa tabbouleh. Again, it looks very nice. So the bottom line is I'm going to be following these. I'm going to report back to you next week, and we'll see how things went. And hopefully I'm a little bit in better shape than I am this week, but we'll see how this goes. I'm going to go back to bed. I'll see you guys next week, and have a good week.